Well, that is not good. Mac McFarquhar has crashed into the barriers. Hailing from the quaint town of Melton Mowbray, Nigel must be really pumped to be here today.
Isn't that where they make all the pork pies?
It is, so let's hope he's not eaten all the pies and given himself some extra ballast. Callum Walker has set a best lap time of 1:22.119 so far.
As the session progresses, Callum Walker is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
I hear that Nigel is a pretty keen skier and snowboarder.
He's certainly got a mountain to climb if he wants to do well in this race.
With just 35 minutes left, the pressure is on for drivers to finalize their setups. That is a great looking livery on Nigel's car.
Apparently Mag Arnold does the designs for him.
I miss that guy. Hopefully we will see him back on track one day. Callum's last lap was a 1:21.814, aiming to shave off some seconds here. That's a big accident. Hopefully Daniel is okay. Callum Walker just clocked 3:15.379. Can they improve on this lap?
Callum is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
I'm not sure which came off worse, the circuit or DK's Formula RSS4.
At least they've not taken anyone else out.
Now several laps into the session, Neil Constable Barry looks to refine their line and timing. You know, John took home the VVS Driver Championship last year, so I'm sure he'll be working hard to protect his title.
Wasn't that only because he attended more events than anyone else?
That's true, but let's let him dream.
Ooh, ouch.
Well, that is not good. Astrup has crashed into the barriers.
That's the way she goes.
Mac's last lap was a 120.239, aiming to shave off some seconds here. Walters just clocked 259.207. Can they improve on this lap?
As the session progresses, Nigel Walters is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Now several laps into the session, Callum Walker looks to refine their line and timing. A big impact for Jimmy Lindo.
That's gonna hurt in the morning.
Jimmy Lindo has set a best lap time of 1:19.783 so far.
Jimmy is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Callum's last lap was a 1:22.412, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
As the session progresses, Callum Walker is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Jimmy Lindo just clocked 1:19.772, can they improve on this lap? That's a big accident, hopefully McFarquhar is okay. Now several laps into the session, Mac McFarquhar looks to refine their line and timing.
Mac is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Jimmy's last lap was a 1:20.548, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
As the session progresses, Jimmy Lindo is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Well, that is not good. Callum Walker has crashed into the barriers. Lord Farquaad just clocked 1:21.396, can they improve on this lap?
Mac is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Now several laps into the session, Jimmy Lindo looks to refine their line and timing.
As the session progresses, Jimmy Lindo is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
A big impact for Košić.
At least they've not taken anyone else out.
Neil Constable Barry has set a best lap time of 1:22.230 so far.
Neil is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
I'm not sure which came off worse, the circuit or Dave's dad's Formula RSS 4.
That's the way she goes.
Jimmy Lindo is yet to appear on the timing screens. Still no time for Walker as the clock ticks down.
McFarquhar into the barriers, a hefty impact.
Walters up to P2, that's a solid start to the session.
1:20.174, that's a decent time, but there's definitely more pace to be found.
Walker slots into second, pushing hard early on.
Looks like he's struggling a little bit with the car's balance through turn 3, that's where he's losing time.
Walters goes fastest with a tiny improvement.
He's stringing together a good lap, but a tenth of a second isn't going to keep him on top for long.
Walker improves but stays second.
Walters is really on it this morning.
Walker still in P2, chasing Walters.
Košić has had a shunt. A hefty whack against the wall there.
Walker now in fourth position, a little further back now.
Košić in the barriers again. They've had a tough session so far.
Constable Barry sitting in sixth, needs to find some time. Astrup moves into fifth, a solid effort.
Fifth is okay, but the top runners will be looking to go a lot faster than that.
Oh no, Astrup has crashed out.
That looked like a similar incident to McFarquhar earlier, clipped the apex and lost it. Still no lap time recorded for McFarquhar.
Walters now second, can he take the top spot?
He's close, but Lindo's going to be tough to beat, he always is. Walker is in fifth place, not where he wants to be I'm sure.
Needs to pick up the pace if he wants to contend.
Lindo straight into the barriers there.
Lindo takes the top spot with a stunning lap.
That's more like it, a real statement of intent there.
Walker still in fifth, struggling to find pace.
He's got work to do if he wants to challenge for the lead, he needs to find at least a second a lap.
Lindo improves and extends his lead.
He's really flying out there, pushing the car to the limit.
Another crash for McFarquhar, a much slower one this time.
Looks like he just lost the rear under braking.
McFarquhar improves to second, a good recovery.
A solid lap, but still a couple of tenths off Lindo's pace.
Lindo remains quickest, he's looking strong.
He's nailed the setup, he looks really comfortable out there. Walker has gone into the barriers.
He lost the back end there, it looks like. McFarquhar is in second place now.
Lindo still quickest, a commanding performance so far.
He seems to have found the sweet spot early. Big crash for Kosic.
That looked like a really nasty impact. Hopefully he is alright.
Constable Barry ninth fastest, but he needs to improve.
Constable Barry in the barriers and he is in there hard.
Walters into third position now.
He's creeping closer to the top, but still a little bit off the pace of Lindo and McFarquhar.
Some say he has no face, and that he's confused by stairs. All we know is, he's called the Kiwi. Lindo just clocked 121.395, can they improve on this lap?
As the session progresses, Jimmy Lindo is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Well, that is not good. Walker has crashed into the barriers. Now several laps into the session, John Boontakis looks to refine their line and timing.
John is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
That's a big accident. Hopefully Walker is okay.
That's gonna hurt in the morning.
John Boontakis has set a best lap time of 120.221 so far. Kosic just clocked 120.707, can they improve on this lap?
As the session progresses, Daniel Kosic is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
A big impact for Assetto.
Some say he has no matching socks, and that he accelerates with his left foot. All we know is, he's called the Kiwi.
Chris's last lap was a 2:05.908, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
Chris is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Mac McFarquhar has set a best lap time of 119.464 so far. I'm not sure which came off worse, the circuit or Callum Walker's Formula RSS 4. Callum Walker just clocked 3:11.348, can they improve on this lap? Now several laps into the session, Mac McFarquhar looks to refine their line and timing.
As the session progresses, Mac McFarquhar is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Well, that is not good, McFarquhar has crashed into the barriers.
Sucks to be them.
Mac McFarquhar has set a best lap time of 119.464 so far. John Boontakis just clocked 120.873, can they improve on this lap? You know, John took home the VVS Driver Championship last year, so I'm sure he'll be working hard to protect his title.
Wasn't that only because he attended more events than anyone else?
That's true, but let's let him dream.
Ooh, ouch.
Chris Stokes has picked up some damage from that contact. Now several laps into the session, Mac McFarquhar looks to refine their line and timing.
Mac is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Jimmy's last lap was a 1:19.302, aiming to shave off some seconds here. John Boontakis has set a best lap time of 1:20.221 so far. Nigel just clocked 3:42.667, can they improve on this lap? Astrup currently 6th, needs to push on if he wants a good qualifying position.
That's a decent lap, but he's going to need to find a few more tenths to be competitive.
Lindo's still on top, looking very strong.
He's really in the groove now, it's going to take something special to beat him. Walker is into the barriers again. What is going on with him?
Boontakis is sitting pretty in 5th, a decent showing. Another crash for Walker.
He's struggling out there, that's his 3rd incident of the session. Boontakis staying consistent but not improving. Kochish up to 6th position now.
A reasonable showing after his earlier crash.
Astrup is in the wall. Astrup back up to 4th, looking good.
Can he find some more pace and challenge for the lead? Stokes is down in 9th.
He'll need to make some changes to the car if he wants to improve his position.
McFarquhar takes the lead with a blistering lap.
Walker is in the barriers again. A very slow impact.
Walker down in 8th, his day is not going well.
McFarquhar sitting pretty in 1st place, a strong showing.
McFarquhar into the barriers, a massive shunt.
That looked like a driver error, carrying too much speed into the corner.
McFarquhar still quickest despite that last mishap. Boontakis holds 5th place, Astrup in 4th, chasing the leaders.
He's got the pace, he just needs to put it all together on one lap. Stokes is in the barriers, a very slow speed crash.
McFarquhar remains on top, a stellar performance.
Lindo reclaims the top spot with a sensational lap.
He's really laying down the marker now. Boontakis still in 5th, a solid effort.
Walter's up to 3rd place.
He's closing in on the leaders, can he challenge for the top spot? Stokes has beached his car again.
That's 2 incidents in quick succession for him. Looks like he's struggling with the car's handling.
Chris's last lap was a 1:22.074, aiming to shave off some seconds here. Now several laps into the session, Callum Walker looks to refine their line and timing.
Stokes is languishing down in 9th.
He needs to pull something special out of the bag to improve his standing.
Walker is down in 9th, he hasn't had a good session at all.
He will have to find some time and get into a better position for qualifying. McFarquhar is in the barriers.
Looks like he was pushing too hard there and just ran out of road. What a shame.
Callum Walker has set a best lap time of 1:21.035 so far. Now several laps into the session, John Boontakis looks to refine their line and timing. Walker is still struggling in 9th. Boontakis holding on to 5th, a respectable position.
Constable Barry in 8th, could he sneak a few places higher?
That's a big accident. Hopefully Boontakis is okay.
At least they've not taken anyone else out.
Boontakas just clocked 121.302, can they improve on this lap? Now several laps into the session, Neil Constable Barry looks to refine their line and timing. Jimmy Lindo has set a best lap time of 119.302 so far.
Boontakas has had a very slow speed crash. Boontakas holding on to 5th position.
Can he find a way to improve before the end of the session? Constable Barry still 8th with time running out.
Lindo is 2nd, he is really close to the leader.
Can he find those extra few tenths needed to take the top spot? Constable Barry into the barriers. Another crash.
That was a heavy hit. Not a great end to his practice session.
Dave's dad just clocked 121.983, can they improve on this lap?
Neil is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements. Constable Barry 8th, but not looking like he is going to improve with that time on the board.
Walters is 4th as we approach the end of the session.
Astrup has crashed again.
His day just keeps getting worse. Stokes has managed to move up to 6th. Lindo's still in the pits, what's the hold up there? McFarquhar also yet to post a time. Pressure's building.
In my experience, waiting that long can be a risky strategy. You need heat in the tires.
Oh, big shunt. McFarquhar and Boontakis collide. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Jimmy Lindo is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. A big impact for Constable Barry.
That's gonna hurt in the morning.
It looks like Dave's dad is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tires and get everything just right.
They will want to get a good gap established for their first flying lap.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Jimmy is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run. That's a big accident. Hopefully Callum Walker is okay.
Sucks to be them.
You can feel the tension building. Lindo is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying time. Well, that is not good. Neil has crashed into the barriers. Jimmy Lindo is on their out lap.
It's a delicate balance between taking it easy and pushing hard. Let's see how Jimmy Lindo handles it.
As Lindo completes their out lap, they will be hoping they have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Stokes is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. Stokes has completed their out lap. A big impact for Daniel. It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and Walker is nailing both. Walker has completed their first flying lap in 1:29.658. Nigel Walters is on their first flying lap. Wow, look at Dave's dad go. They're really turning on the jets in this qualifying session.
Let's see if they can put a good marker down.
I'm not sure which came off worse, the circuit or John Boontakis' Formula RSS4.
At least they've not taken anyone else out.
It's clear that Walters is on a mission in this qualifying session. They're pushing their car to the limit.
Yes, they are. It takes a special kind of driver to thrive under this kind of pressure.
The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Chris Stokes is rising to the occasion. Constable Barry pushing hard in the final sector.
He needs to find some time. That's a scrappy lap.
Walker absolutely flying. A huge improvement coming.
Oh no, Walker crashes. What a shame.
Walker limping back to the pits. Stokes right on the edge as the clock ticks down.
He'll have to make this one count. There's no time for another lap.
Chris Stokes has picked up some damage from that contact.
Show that barrier who's boss.
Constable Barry across the line just before the buzzer.
That last gasp might just get him a better spot on the grid.
Constable Barry looking good for a faster lap.
It's all about the final sector now.
That's a big accident. Hopefully Walker is okay.
That's gonna hurt in the morning.
Constable Barry still pushing. Can he improve? Constable Barry has just completed that lap in 1:23.308. Their best lap so far is 1:23.308, putting them in P7. Will they be able to hold onto that spot? A solid performance from DK as they currently hold position 9. However, with the session coming to a close, they'll need to find that extra bit of speed if they want to move up the grid.
Stokes is in the wall. That looked painful.
A strong showing from Daniel as they currently sit in 9th. With the session drawing to a close, they'll need to dig deep and find that extra burst of speed to improve. Daniel Kochish crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. Mac McFarquhar is on pole. Securing the second place is Jimmy Lindo.
Jimmy will be ready to show what they're made of.
And in the third position, it's none other than Nigel Walters. John Astrup will look to make a splash from the fourth position on the starting grid. The fifth position is occupied by Chris Stokes. John Boontakis is sixth. Lining up in seventh is Neil Constable Barry.
It's the soft tires for Neil.
The eighth starting position belongs to Callum Walker, who will be looking to make up ground early on. Our ninth place starter, Daniel Kochish, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track.
It's the soft tire compounds for Daniel.
The moment we've been waiting for has arrived. The green flag is waving and the race is on.
These first moments can set the tone for the rest of the race. It's all about keeping a clear head and making smart decisions.
And our pole sitter, Mac McFarquhar, will lead the field away. Alongside him we have Jimmy Lindo, a name we don't know too much about.
He's an M-Class driver, so he'll be looking to learn as much as possible from the experienced guys around him.
Nigel Walters starts in P3, can he challenge for the lead early on? John Astrup starts in 4th, the highest placed pro driver.
Chris Stokes in 5th, another Pro-Am driver, needs a good start here.
He has got the potential to move up the order, it is up to him to do it. John Boontakis will be hoping to make some moves from 6th.
The AM driver needs a clean start, avoid the chaos, and see where he ends up. Neil Constable Barry, starting 7th, another AM driver looking for a strong showing.
He'll be aiming for a solid points finish. Callum Walker in 8th, let's see what he can do.
Another AM driver, a good start will be critical. Daniel Koshich rounds out the top 9.
An AM driver, it's going to be a tough race for him. Lights out and away we go.
Everyone gets away cleanly, a good start for everyone. McFarquhar holds the lead into turn 1.
A textbook start from the Pro-Am driver. All the drivers will be trying to take advantage of the pack whilst they're still bunched up. There has been a crash. Astrup has come together with Walters. Talk about a rough beginning. Stokes must feel like they've got the world's heaviest anchor attached to their car, dropping positions at the start.
Not the best of starts, but it happens. I expect Stokes won't be there for long.
McFarquhar still leads, holding on to his advantage.
He's setting a good pace early on. And a shunt. Astrup and Walters collide.
That's going to cause some chaos further back. A difficult start for Chris Stokes, he's dropped back to 9th.
Oh no, Stokes has hit the barriers.
That's a disappointing turn of events for the Pro-Am driver, who was looking to challenge. It's a solid performance from Neil Constable Barry at the moment. They're holding their position and not getting too caught up in battles around them.
That's the mark of a good driver. Neil Constable Barry is staying focused on their own race and not getting distracted.
Well, that is not good. Daniel has crashed into the barriers. Constable Barry seems to be putting the pressure on Astrup. That's a big accident. Hopefully Baldylocks is okay.
At least they've not taken anyone else out.
The crowd is on tender hooks as the Kiwi in 3rd chases after Nigel Walters. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can John Astrup find a way to catch up? John Astrup is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with knockoff Nigel at the moment.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap? Some say he has no face, and that he's confused by stares. All we know is, he's called the Kiwi. It's a battle of wills out there, with Neil trying to outsmart and outmaneuver John Astrup. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race? It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But John Astrup is not going to give up their position easily.
This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Neil Constable Barry and P4 doing everything they can to catch up.
I'm not sure which came off worse, the circuit or Constable Barry's Formula RSS4.
That's gonna hurt in the morning.
It looks like John is pushing hard to catch up to Nigel Walters. The gap is over a second, but John is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Nigel Walters?
It's going to be tough for Astrup, as Nigel Walters seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Astrup pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
Wow, Constable Barry up to third, a fantastic recovery after that earlier incident. And Košić is off, big impact with the wall.
We're following Constable Barry now in fourth, chasing down Astrup for third.
He's setting a good pace with 17 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Another crash for Chris Stokes.
This race is quickly falling apart for him.
Now we're with John Astrup in third, chasing Walters. No change for Astrup, still third, but closing the gap. This Formula RSS4 car really rewards smooth inputs and aggressive driving. It is a hard car to drive.
Absolutely, it demands respect. Push it too hard and it will bite you, as we've seen with some of these crashes.
That is for sure.
The RSS4 doesn't forgive mistakes, it is unforgiving.
The slightest error can be massively penalized.
Some of these drivers are really learning that the hard way.
The camera focuses on Neil Constable Barry in fourth, chasing down Astrup.
He's really pushing, and has just set a personal best lap.
Constable Barry in the wall. Now we're back with Astrup, still chasing Walters for the lead. Astrup is now second, he's past Walters.
A great move to get into second place. Some say he has no matching socks, and that he accelerates with his left foot. All we know is, he's called the Kiwi.
What I always find amazing is how these drivers deal with the pressure, especially the young ones.
The mental side is huge. When I was racing, I had to learn to block out everything else and just focus on the driving.
That takes practice, surely.
Years of it, and even then, some days are harder than others. You need to be calm and collected to extract the speed.
There is always another lap to set a new lap record.
Never give up, and drive like you stole it.
You have to want to win more than your rivals.
The day you stop wanting to win is the day you should give up racing.
Very true.
It is a mindset, something which the best have in abundance.
There is definitely that X factor that some drivers just have.
For sure, they have the talent and they want to win more than anything.
Now we're with John Astrup, who is second, pushing hard. Boontakis has just crashed, another shunt. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Mac will need to keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Mac McFarquhar in fourth determined to catch up. But we know Walters isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate, Mac McFarquhar is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
The best laid plans of mice and men Husky, but it's certainly not going to plan for McFarquhar right now as they are struggling to keep up with Nigel Walters.
It's not over yet, but Mac McFarquhar should get a move on if they want to catch up to Nigel Walters.
A big impact for Baldilocks.
Now we're with Mac McFarquhar down in fourth, trying to close the gap to Walters.
He's been struggling with pace ever since the start of the race. No change for McFarquhar, but the gap is holding steady.
Another incident for Stokes.
His race is going from bad to worse.
Now we're with McFarquhar, and he's closing on Walters.
He is really pushing hard now. Great driving from McFarquhar, who has just gained a place and moved up to third. I'm not sure which came off worse, the circuit or Jimmy Lindo's Formula RSS4.
That's the way she goes.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Nigel trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Mac McFarquhar. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Nigel Walters close in enough to mount a challenge? Astrup is running second. They are trying to catch Jimmy Lindo. Well, that is not good. Košić has crashed into the barriers. Oh, this is getting intense. Astrup is just a few car lengths behind Lindo.
Will Astrup be able to make a move and pass Lindo?
It's game on now. John Astrup has closed the gap to Jimmy. It's now down to 0.3 seconds. McFarquhar is now third. He's overtaken Walters.
And he's pulling away now.
Lindo has crashed. Now we're following Walters in fourth, chasing McFarquhar.
He is going to need to push.
Now we're with Astrup, chasing down Lindo for the lead. Kosic again. Another crash for the Hungarian driver.
He can't seem to keep it on the track. We're back to Astrup chasing Lindo. The gap is minimal.
This is getting tense. No change to the gap between the leader and second. Kosic has crashed again. The race is heating up as John in second closes in on Jimmy Lindo. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. It's not going to plan for John. They are still behind Jimmy Lindo and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
John needs to keep pushing, even when things aren't going their way. If they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to Jimmy.
An impressive showing from John Astrup, who has gained positions and left Jimmy Lindo in the dust.
Yes, but they have to keep pushing hard. This race is far from over, and anything can happen. John Astrup has got to apply their skill and determination.
A big impact for Daniel.
Now we're following Astrup, still chasing down the leader Lindo.
He is getting closer, but time is running out for him. Not much change for Astrup. The gap stays roughly the same. Astrup has taken the lead. Great work by him. Another huge crash for Kosic.
That looked like a nasty one.
We're back with Astrup now in second place, chasing Lindo in the lead, with 8 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. We are following Stokes now, way down the field in fifth, chasing Walters. Oh no, Stokes has crashed again. Now we're watching McFarquhar in third, chasing down Astrup, who is chasing down Lindo. We're now following Lindo, who is now way down in sixth, battling with Walker. No change in position for Lindo, still in sixth, but Walker is now far ahead of him.
That's a significant gap that is going to be almost impossible to close.
Now we're on board with McFarquhar, chasing Astrup for the lead.
This could be a thrilling end to the race. McFarquhar takes the lead.
Astrup won't let him get away that easily, though. And McFarquhar and Astrup collide. Now we're with Walters in third, chasing down second place McFarquhar. Oh no, not Kosic again. Now we're back with McFarquhar in second, hot on the heels of Astrup.
No change, McFarquhar is still closing. This is incredible to watch.
He's determined to get that lead back. Now we're with Walters, he's in third place chasing McFarquhar.
He has a lot of time to make up in a short amount of time. Walters is continuing to hold third, however the gap to second is increasing.
The gap is widening, he needs to pick up the pace. Oh no, Walker has crashed. Now we are watching Astrup, hot on McFarquhar's tail with just 6 minutes remaining. Astrup remains in second, the gap remains incredibly close.
This is what makes racing so exciting, the tension and the unpredictable nature.
You're right, you never know what's going to happen until the checkered flag waves.
That is why every race is exciting in its own way.
For sure.
It is a sport that tests both mind and body.
And this is definitely a test for everyone out there today.
That is for sure.
So many crashes for these drivers today.
The conditions are tricky and the car is unforgiving of mistakes.
These conditions are tough for the drivers to handle.
For sure, it is an experience thing.
It is a race of attrition at this point.
Definitely, it's all about being consistent now.
We are back with Walters now, he is third, with a long way to go to catch second. The best laid plans of mice and men husk sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Walters right now as they are struggling to keep up with the Kiwi. Walters remains in third, he is starting to lose time to second place.
Stokes is in the wall again.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for John Astrup, who is currently in P2. But Mac McFarquhar is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from John Astrup.
Absolutely, John Astrup in second will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
It's not going to plan for Astrup, they are still behind Mac and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
This is a tough situation for Astrup. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
That's a big accident. Hopefully Košić is okay.
That's the way she goes.
John Astrup has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with McFarquhar. I expect their only hope at this point is that Mac makes an error. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Walker as they have a big gap ahead of them to close at this point in time.
Anything can happen yet, and it usually does. I've certainly seen drivers come back from worse.
Well, that is not good. McFarquhar has crashed into the barriers. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. John will need to keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. A setback for John, who has just been passed.
That's got to be frustrating. But Astrup is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to battle their way back up the field.
Things don't seem to be going Walker's way in this race, as that's a big gap they'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here.
No change, gap is growing, it's looking unlikely that Astrup will be able to catch the leader.
It is going to be tough for him, with the time remaining in the race.
Oh no, Košić is off again.
That's the third time he's gone off the track. We are back watching Astrup, who is getting closer to McFarquhar, who leads, with just a few minutes left to go. Following Walker now, chasing Stokes for fourth.
They are battling for the final points paying position, and McFarquhar is off.
What a disaster for the leader. We are back watching Astrup, although he has fallen back, still chasing McFarquhar with just a few minutes to go now. Now we're following Walker, still chasing Stokes.
Walker has closed the gap slightly, the pressure is on Stokes.
Stokes is going to have to pull something special out of the bag to keep him behind. Walker has crashed. Now we're watching Stokes, who has just been gifted fourth after the crash, trying to stay ahead of Astrup. Stokes has overtaken Astrup, moving up to third.
Astrup will be looking to take that position back quickly.
Following Walker now, he has just rejoined after his crash, chasing Stokes in fourth. Walker is closing in on Stokes, and is quickly gaining time.
The fight for fourth is still on.
Now we are watching Stokes, chasing Astrup in a bid for third, on the last lap. Constable Barry has crashed. Here comes Stokes, closing in on Astrup for third position on this final lap.
Now we are watching Walker, chasing Stokes for fourth on this final lap.
He is closing in quickly after that earlier crash. It is going to be close. No change, Walker is still chasing down Stokes, but is falling further and further behind.
It looks like the battle for fourth is all but over.
We are used to seeing some hard-fought but clean racing here at Virtual Velocity. I'm expecting to see nothing different here today as this race unfolds. The gap between John and Chris is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from John to even allow Chris to get a look in.
They certainly aren't going to be close enough to mount any kind of challenge soon unless it's down to a mistake from the Kiwi.
I think Daniel Košić is starting to lose focus. What a race we've had. So many incidents, so much action, and we're heading towards the final lap.
It has been a crazy race.
There have been incidents all over the track.
This circuit is super tricky.
And it's a final lap push for these drivers.
Let's see how the action unfolds. Anything can still happen.
You are right.
The final lap can make or break you.
That is why all these drivers are pushing so hard.
Who is going to be on the podium?
Only time will tell.
And who is going to crash?
Following Stokes now, chasing Astrup. Can he get close enough to challenge for the final podium position?
He needs to find some extra pace from somewhere.
Košić again.
This has been a race to forget for him.
Now we're watching Stokes chase Astrup on this final lap. It's not looking good for Chris Stokes. They are still behind Astrup and the gap is increasing. They are gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. Stokes has lost a little ground. The door could be closing for him now. There have been so many incidents in this race. Which do you think was the worst?
I think the high-speed shunt involving Constable Barry was particularly nasty.
The wall came up on him so quickly.
That is for sure.
Then there were some of the incidents involving the barriers. There were a few bad ones.
It's been a day of learning the limits for many of these drivers.
That is for sure.
This can only make the drivers more consistent.
You are right. Consistency is king in motor racing.
One incident can make or break a race.
The incident is going to teach this people to be consistent.
It will make them more consistent for the next race.
Chris Stokes has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with the Kiwi. I expect their only hope at this point is that John makes an error. I'm not sure which came off worse, the circuit or Stokes' Formula RSS 4. The tension is building as Stokes trails behind John Astrup. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Can John Astrup hold on, or will Chris Stokes be able to close them down?
Indeed, the tension is palpable as Chris tries to reel in John Astrup. But John Astrup is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Can Chris Stokes find some extra pace to bring the fight to the Kiwi?
This is where the true champions shine, and Mack is certainly showing their class in the final sector. It's all over. Mack has claimed victory in this race with a stunning drive that will be remembered for years to come. Clearly at the top of their game right now.
And that's why Lord Farquaad is one of the best in the business. A dominant display of driving from start to finish, leaving the rest of the pack in the dust.
A big impact for McFarquhar. Impressive second place finish for Knockoff Nigel. What a race from Astrup. They kept their cool and secured a well-earned third place on the podium.
What a drive, well-deserved spot on the podium with that performance.
4th, 5th, and 7th is Chris Stokes, Callum Walker, and Daniel Kočić. Neil Constable Barry brings home 6th. Košić leads the pack in his RSS 4, an M-Class driver starting from pole position. At second, we have the one and only Neil Constable Barry.
Putting that Formula RSS 4 into prime position for the race.
It's Callum Walker, sitting comfortably in third.
It's like they're on the outside looking in. Can they make their way to the front of the pack?
Our fourth place starter for today's race is none other than Chris Stokes.
Chris will be expecting to bring home solid points.
Nigel Walters is going to be starting from 5th.
Could we see a podium result from Walters?
Mac McFarquhar is placed in 6th. As the engines roar to life, Jimmy Lindo prepares to take off from the 8th position on the starting grid.
They would have liked to be higher up, but that's not going to stop Jimmy Lindo fighting their way through.
And we have liftoff. The race is now underway. This first sector will test the drivers' skills and their ability to stay focused.
This is where the real action begins. The drivers will be jostling for position and trying to gain any advantage they can.
Absolutely. It's a crucial part of the race, and the drivers will need to be on top of it to make it through here unscathed.
The first sector is always a bit of a nail-biter. With so many cars bunched together, one small mistake can be disastrous.
They'll need to keep their wits about them if they want to come out of this section unscathed. It's brilliant to see such a full grid here today.
The race isn't won in the first turn, but there have been plenty that have ended there. How?
This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it. A little bit of contact between Constable Barry and Callum Walker. Establishing an early advantage will be crucial to the outcome of this race.
I am so excited at the prospects for this race. I can't wait to see the drama unfold.
As the drivers get this race underway, let me give a shout out to the admin team at Virtual Velocity for making this all possible. Heroes one and all. The drivers are jockeying for position. Mac McFarquhar will be looking to get off to a good start and consolidate their position. Stokes down to 6th. As we watch the drivers fight it out in the first lap, I can already feel that this is going to be an epic race. There's some intense battling throughout the field as everyone is looking to get off to a good start.
The first lap can always be a bit of a bun fight as everyone tries to establish themselves. It's easy for inexperienced racers to blow it in T1.
The gap between Chris Stokes and Jimmy Lindo is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds. Sky, can you share some strategies that drivers use to manage tire degradation during a race?
Certainly, Hal. Some strategies include adjusting the car's setup for better tire life, altering driving lines to reduce wear, and using tire management techniques like lift and coast to preserve grip for as long as possible.
The gap between Lord Farquaad and Chris is razor thin as they vie for 6th in this nail-biting contest.
The slightest mistake from either driver could lead to a meeting with the barriers, and nobody wants an impromptu autograph session with the wall.
McFarquhar is right on the tail of Stokes. The gap is down to nothing. You know, Sky, as a former racing driver yourself, can you give us some insights into what goes through a driver's mind during these quieter moments in a race?
Sure, Hal. During these moments, drivers often take the opportunity to assess their race strategy, monitor their car's performance, and plan their next move. It's all about staying focused and finding the right time to strike.
We're switching to Astrup now, running in 3rd place.
He's got Constable Barry in his sights, less than half a second separating them. He'll be looking for a way past soon. I know I would be.
Contact between Baldylocks and Mac McFarquhar.
It's not the worst accident I've seen, but I don't think those two will be friends after that.
This is a thrilling battle as Constable Barry edges closer to John in their fight for P2.
Constable Barry now into second and closing on the lead. That's what I'm talking about.
Big trouble for Constable Barry. He has dropped all the way down to 6th and is 32 seconds behind the lead. Well, that is not good. Constable Barry has crashed into the barriers. It's a battle of wills out there, each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other.
You can feel the intensity in the air. The slightest mistake could cost either of them the race. Stokes is losing a little ground to Walters ahead, the gap now almost a second. Needs to find some pace.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Jimmy Lindo trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on John Astrup. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Jimmy Lindo close in enough to mount a challenge? Lindo closing the gap on Astrup, just 4/10 now.
He's really hunting him down. Looks like he's got the bit between his teeth.
Well, what a start to this race we've had.
Absolutely chaotic, Hal. So many incidents on the first couple of laps.
Those opening laps are always tricky, everyone fighting for position.
Exactly, and it's so easy to make a mistake when you're pushing that hard. I've certainly been there myself.
Lots of pressure to perform, especially at the start.
And we've seen some great battles already despite it. Should be an exciting race.
Certainly has been entertaining. The fans are loving it.
It all comes down to getting into a rhythm.
Once these drivers settle in, they will be trying to manage their pace.
Absolutely. It's all about managing tires, fuel, and keeping cool in that cockpit.
And staying out of trouble.
Precisely. We have seen more than our fair share of crashes today.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Chris will need to keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Chris in fifth determined to catch up. But we know Nigel isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate, Chris is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
Good news for Stokes, the gap to knock off Nigel has decreased. It's now down to 0.4 seconds. What do you think about the M-Class drivers mixing it up with the Pro-Am?
It's great to see. It shows that with the right setup and a good start, anyone can compete.
It makes the racing so much more unpredictable.
Definitely. Those AM drivers have nothing to lose, and they're pushing hard. It reminds me of some of the drives I used to pull off.
Speaking of pushing hard, do you think anyone will try and undercut later in the race?
It's possible, but track position is king here. It's a tough call.
But that could give them the edge they need. It all comes down to strategy.
Exactly. The pit stops will be crucial. One small mistake and it's game over.
The team managers are probably thinking over all the various strategies at the moment.
Yeah, and they're looking at all the telemetry.
I am wondering how they are going to play this out.
Right now I think that all the drivers will be looking forward to the next lap and trying to improve their position.
We're on board with McFarquhar now. He's chasing Walker for 6th. I'm not sure which came off worse, the circuit or McFarquhar's Formula RSS 4. Every move counts now as Stokes works to reel in Walters and overtake for P4.
You can see that car bouncing around as they ride the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
It looks like Stokes is making a move. The gap to Nigel Walters is now down to 0.1 seconds. Lord Farquaad has picked up some damage from that contact. Košić is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Daniel Kočić needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Astrup, who is currently in P2. But Jimmy Lindo is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from John Astrup.
huge shunt for Košić. He's gone straight into the barriers.
It looks like Nigel is pushing hard to catch up to Chris Stokes. The gap is over a second, but Nigel is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Chris Stokes?
That's right, knockoff Nigel in fourth knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Chris Stokes is no slouch, and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
The best laid plans of mice and men Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Nigel right now as they are struggling to keep up with Chris.
This is a frustrating situation for knockoff Nigel, but they can't give up just yet. They need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Chris.
DK is in the pits. That's a big accident. Hopefully Lindo is okay.
That's gonna hurt in the morning.
The crowd is on tender hooks as the Kiwi in third chases after Chris Stokes. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can John Astrup find a way to catch up?
Absolutely, Astrup in third will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
Walker is sixth and chasing down McFarquhar, but has quite the gap to close.
That's a big gap to close with only 11 minutes remaining. He needs to push hard and hope for a mistake from McFarquhar.
Well, that is not good. McFarquhar has crashed into the barriers. Astrup trying to close the gap, but Stokes is starting to pull away. It's not going to plan for the Kiwi. They are still behind Chris and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. The gap between Nigel in fifth and McFarquhar remains over a second, but Nigel is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 10 minutes? I'm not sure which came off worse, the circuit or Lord Farquaad's Formula RSS 4.
Sucks to be them.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Chris is closing in on Astrup.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Chris Stokes should use slipstreaming to their advantage and close the gap to the Kiwi.
The gap between Baldilocks and Astrup is widening. It's now up to 0.4 seconds.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
This race has been full of incidents. Very interesting to watch.
Yeah, this track can be very unforgiving. You have to respect it.
And we have seen drivers not respecting it.
Well, when you start to fall down the pecking order, you need to drive harder, and that is when mistakes happen.
How do you think these drivers will be feeling right now?
They will be starting to feel it with 10 minutes left. I know I would be. It's important to maintain focus.
There will be a few drivers that are going all out to try to get the win.
Totally. They have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
And then there will be some drivers who are just trying to maintain their position.
Yes, it's all about how important finishing where they are now is to them.
So true.
Very true. Sometimes just bringing it home safely is the best strategy.
The gap between Astrup and Chris Stokes is not insurmountable, but it's going to take a mistake from Astrup to bring Chris Stokes into play. Oh no, Sky, look at this. Baldilocks is closing in on John. The gap is now just 0.4 seconds. It's a battle of wills out there, with Chris trying to outsmart and outmaneuver John Astrup. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race? Stokes still right behind Astrup. The gap is still tight.
He needs to make a move soon or he'll run out of time. I know I'd be getting frustrated.
Astrup now closing on Lindo for the lead. Stokes and John Astrup seem to have forgotten that this is a no-contact sport.
These drivers need to calm things down.
The gap between John and Chris Stokes may be wide, but that doesn't mean John is safe. They have to keep their concentration and avoid any lapses in performance. What a move. The Kiwi has moved up to first. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Chris trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Jimmy Lindo. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Chris Stokes close in enough to mount a challenge?
It's going to be tough for Stokes, as Jimmy Lindo seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Stokes pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
The gap between Stokes and Jimmy Lindo is getting smaller.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
Let's talk about tire degradation. Sky, how does it affect the car's handling and what do drivers need to do to adapt to the changing conditions?
Tire degradation can significantly impact handling. How? As the tires wear, the grip reduces, and drivers need to adjust their braking points, cornering speeds, and throttle application to maintain control of the car.
We're starting to see who really has the pace now in this race, as Chris is starting to climb all over the back of Jimmy Lindo. Any closer and they may need to pop the boot.
Absolutely, Jimmy Lindo in second is doing a fantastic job of holding on to their lead, but they can't afford to make a single mistake. And Chris Stokes is looking for any opportunity to make a move. This could be a battle to the finish line.
Looking at the lap times, Jimmy Lindo is not on pace with Chris. Can they turn it around? There has been a crash. Jimmy Lindo has come together with Baldilocks. And Chris is having to make that Formula RSS 4 as wide as possible to try and keep Lindo behind them.
If Lindo gets any closer to the back of Chris, then one of them is going to need some lube, if they want to take this further.
Stokes pulling away from Lindo now, building a little gap. A big impact for Callum.
At least they've not taken anyone else out.
The tension is building as Jimmy Lindo trails behind Chris Stokes. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Can Chris Stokes hold on, or will Jimmy Lindo be able to close them down? It's not looking good for Lindo. They are still behind Stokes and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. Walker's got a comfortable gap to Constable Barry behind, but he's nowhere near the front of the pack.
Walker drops to 7th as Constable Barry flies past. The gap is nothing.
That's a big accident. Hopefully Mac McFarquhar is okay.
That's gonna hurt in the morning.
Lindo is having problems keeping up with Stokes. The gap widens again.
He might be struggling with his tires. It's tough to manage them on this track.
The gap between Jimmy Lindo and Stokes is growing. It's now up to 1.7 seconds. You know, Sky, I've always wondered, how do racing drivers stay so cool and collected under such immense pressure?
Well, Hal, it comes down to mental strength and training. Drivers often work with sports psychologists and practice techniques like meditation and visualization to help them stay calm and focused during high-pressure situations.
McFarquhar trying to close the gap to Lindo in the final minutes. Lord Farquaad is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Jimmy Lindo at the moment.
This is where the mental toughness of Mac comes into play. They need to try push, even when things aren't going their way.
A big crash for Astrup. That looked nasty.
That is a big crash for him. I wonder how it is going to affect his race.
It looks like Lindo is pushing hard to catch up to Chris Stokes. The gap is over a second, but Lindo is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Chris Stokes? This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. John will need to keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Mac McFarquhar is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with John Astrup in P4 doing everything they can to catch up.
John has pulled into the pits. At this stage in the race, John needs to maintain more focus.
Outrageous, to be honest.
Astrup pulls into the pits with only a minute left. What a disappointing end after such a strong start.
Yeah, he has had a torrid time. Such a shame as he showed great early promise.
The gap between Lindo in second and Chris Stokes remains over a second, but Lindo is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 1 minute?
Indeed, the tension is palpable as Jimmy tries to reel in Chris Stokes. But Chris Stokes is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Can Jimmy Lindo find some extra pace to bring the fight to Chris?
Constable Barry into the barriers again. What a day he is having.
McFarquhar is in third, and now closing on Lindo ahead.
McFarquhar is really on it, closing slightly on Lindo now.
He is trying his best, but I'm not sure he has enough time left to make an impact.
This has been a crazy race, hasn't it?
Absolutely bonkers. So many crashes and incidents.
It's a real testament to the drivers' resilience that they're still pushing so hard.
And the safety features of these cars, of course. Back in my day, some of those crashes could have been much worse.
What do you think about the strategy of some of these teams today?
Very difficult to tell, but I think some have been forced into taking risks due to all the crashes.
And we are about to see the final lap.
It has been a great race, really.
I do think that a few drivers could have pushed harder.
It is a hard balance to get the right combination of pushing hard but not crashing.
That is so true.
All the greats can do it. Well, nearly all the time.
Oh no, a massive crash for Lindo.
That looks like it hurt. I hope he's okay, but the race certainly looks over for him.
Lindo is trying to keep McFarquhar behind.
But that won't be easy with the damage to that car.
McFarquhar closing rapidly. This could be the pass for second place. That last lap has been amazing.
Yeah, all the drivers were trying to push and got so close to each other.
Do you think that we might see a final lap overtake for the lead?
That is so unlikely to happen. I think that the current positions are pretty much set.
I am thinking that this might be so.
I wonder what race we are going to be commentating on next. Hopefully there will be less crashes.
I agree. So what tips could you give all the aspiring race drivers?
Well, firstly, keep it on the black stuff. Secondly, listen to your team manager, and thirdly, make sure to push hard.
Those are great tips. I think that they should be applied to other things in life.
And when you get out there, push like your life depends on it.
Absolutely.
Well, that is what I did, and I won races because of it. Another crash for Lindo. He has had an incident-packed race. McFarquhar now into second. Can he close on the leader?
McFarquhar extending the gap from Lindo, securing that second place.
Yeah, Lindo won't be able to catch him now.
Lindo now slipping back from McFarquhar. The car is probably damaged.
He's had a rough race, bless him. But with the damage and time left, I think third place is the best he is going to get.
Oh no, Košić into the wall again.
He's just not having any luck today.
Stokes is closing in on the checkered flag. The win is in his sights.
He has McFarquhar bearing down on him but should be able to hold on to the lead.
And Chris Stokes takes the checkered flag. What a drive after starting in fourth. Mac McFarquhar finishes in second after a fantastic recovery from starting in seventh.
An awesome performance to come from behind. Congratulations to them.
Oh no, Mac McFarquhar crashed right at the finish line.
Oh no, he just couldn't keep it on the track.
And Jimmy Lindo brings it home in third, a great result from eighth on the grid despite all the damage. Walters finishes fourth, Košić sixth, capping off a dramatic race for both.
Constable Barry in fifth, after having a very incident-filled race.
Callum Walker begins their outlap, feeling out the track conditions. Jimmy Lindo is on their practice out lap, warming up the tires. I'm not sure which came off worse, the circuit or Callum Walker's Formula RSS 4.
That's the way she goes.
Callum Walker begins their out lap, feeling out the track conditions. John Boontakis is on their practice out lap, warming up the tires. Jimmy Lindo begins their out lap, feeling out the track conditions. John Boontakis begins their out lap, feeling out the track conditions. With just 5 minutes left, the pressure is on for drivers to finalize their setups. Callum Walker is on their practice out lap, warming up the tires. Jimmy Lindo is now on their first flying lap. Let's see what they can do.
This first flying lap will give us some insights into how Jimmy Lindo's car is performing today.
Neil Constable Barry begins their out lap, feeling out the track conditions. We've got a bit of a late start for Walker, out on track but no time set yet.
He'll be feeling the pressure to get a representative lap in before the end of the session. Event 2, asterisk.
Lindo still searching for a quick lap 2. Event 3, asterisk. Walker is into the wall.
Looks like he just carried too much speed into that corner. Event 4, asterisk.
Walker still struggling to get a time on the board. Event 5, asterisk. Boontakis is yet to set a time, let's see what he can do. Event 6, asterisk. Lindo and Boontakis both yet to set a lap time, will either make the cut?
Time is running out, they need to find some speed. Event 7, asterisk.
Boontakis still searching for a decent lap.
He's got to push now, the clock is ticking. Event 8, asterisk.
Will Lindo get a time set before the end of the session? Event 9, asterisk. Walker is out on track again but still no lap time.
They'll be trying to get him comfortable in the car after that incident. Event 10, asterisk.
Lindo goes quickest. Event 11, asterisk. Constable Barry needs to get a lap in quickly. Event 12, asterisk. Fovarg is in the barriers. Nigel Walters is on their practice out lap, warming up the tires. Jimmy Lindo just clocked 119.952, can they improve on this lap?
Walters is still to set a time, will he be able to do it? Event 14, asterisk. Lindo improves and stays fastest.
That's a solid lap, he's really finding the sweet spot out there. Event 15, asterisk.
Stokes has had an incident.
Looks like he just ran out of road there, a costly mistake.
Stokes hasn't set a time, so that earlier crash must have kept him off the board.
Unlikely he'll get a representative time now, with the session so close to ending.
Walker improves to 4th.
Good to see Walker get a decent time in after his earlier issues.
Constable Barry slots into 5th.
That's a pretty good effort, right at the end of the session.
Walters goes 2nd fastest.
Great effort, can he challenge Lindo for the top spot?
Constable Barry holding onto that 5th spot, but time is running out to improve. Walters is in the wall. Coachish trying to squeeze in a final lap, but the clock is against him. Constable Barry will be hoping that's enough for 5th with time almost up. Stokes unlikely to get a lap in now. Daniel Koshich is on their practice out lap, warming up the tires. Kochish still trying for a time. Event 26, asterisk. Oh no, Kochish crashes.
He just ran out of room and clipped the wall, unfortunate for him.
Kochish hasn't set a time yet.
He will need to put in a good effort to get a time on the board, running out of time.
Stokes jumps up to 2nd fastest.
A good solid effort, can he beat the time set by Lindo?
And the clock is ticking in qualifying, still no time from Jimmy Lindo.
That's unusual. He needs to get a move on if he wants to be on the grid.
McFarquhar also yet to post a time. What's going on in the garages?
These guys are cutting it fine. They need to get a banker lap in.
Still no lap time for Walker. The pressure is mounting.
He's got to get out there. Track time is essential, even if it's just to dial in the setup.
Lindo finally exits the pits. Can he set a competitive time? Lindo goes straight to the top of the timesheets.
A great lap for Lindo, but there's still time left for others to respond.
Coach Ish is the only driver yet to set a time with under 2 minutes to go.
He's really up against it now. One flying lap is all he'll get.
Coach Ish goes fastest with his first flying lap. Lindo is improving. He's 0.1 down on his previous best. And McFarquhar is into the wall. That looked like a big hit.
That's a nasty impact. I hope he's alright. That corner can be tricky, especially when pushing for a time.
Lindo is flying, almost a second up on his previous best. Lindo improves, he's up to 4th. Coach Ish looking to improve as the clock runs down. Coach Ish goes 3rd, what a lap. Fovarg is purple across the board. This could be special. Fovarg improves, but only to 10th. Lindo pushing hard on this final lap.
He's got to get it all together in these last few corners. Every 10th counts.
Constable Barry is off. A much slower impact, but he still hit the wall.
Looks like he just lost the rear end there. A costly mistake right at the end of qualifying.
Lindo improving again. Can he go any faster?
He's on a good lap, but that last sector is crucial. Let's see if he can hook it up.
Lindo goes second fastest.
That's more like it. A great effort to put him on the front row, at least for now.
Walker improving now, pushing to get further up the grid. Walker finds some time, up to 7th. Stokes is on a flyer. Can he challenge for pole? Contact between Coachish and Stokes. Oh dear, what a mess. Coachish is way off the pace after that collision.
That's a shame. He was looking so strong, but that incident has clearly affected his car.
Walker's lap is not looking good. Well down on his best. Walter's on pole, M-class driver, huge opportunity for him today.
McFarquhar starts second, an experienced Pro-Am driver. He'll be looking to put the pressure on from the start.
Košić starts third, another AM-class driver in the mix. Will be interesting to see how he fares against the more experienced drivers.
Boontakas in fourth, also M-class. If he can get a good start and stay out of trouble, he could be in for a good points finish.
Lindo starts P5, an unknown quantity. We've not seen him race before, so hard to say how he'll perform.
Indeed, he'll need to keep it clean in the opening laps, show some pace and then build from there. It will be interesting to watch.
Astrup starts down in 6th, surprising for a pro-class driver. He'll need to fight his way through the pack.
He has the experience and the pace. I would expect him to be aggressive in the opening laps. Qualifying clearly didn't go his way.
Chris Stokes, another Pro-Am competitor, starting in 7th. A clean start will be key for him. Callum Walker in P8, another M-class driver, starting in amongst the more experienced drivers.
He needs to stay out of trouble in those opening corners. It's easy to get caught up in other people's mistakes.
Constable Barry starts 9th. He'll be looking for a solid, consistent race, I suspect.
Consistency is key for the AM class. Staying on the track and bringing the car home is half the battle.
Fovard rounds out the top 10, another Pro-Am driver. He's got a good opportunity to score some solid points today.
Starting in the middle of the pack can be tricky. He needs to be decisive and make his moves count early on.
Lights out and away we go.
Walters gets a clean start and holds the lead. Exactly what he needed.
Walters maintains the lead, but McFarquhar is right on his tail. Contact. McFarquhar and Lindo collide. Looks like McFarquhar took a hit.
Boontakas loses a place, down to 5th. He'll need to recover quickly.
Boontakis is still struggling out there in P5, unable to improve.
He needs to find some clear air and settle into a rhythm. The car is there, he just needs to find the sweet spot.
Constable Barry into the barriers. Looks like a slow speed incident, hopefully, he can get going again.
Those barriers can be deceptively unforgiving, even at low speeds. Hopefully, the damage isn't too severe.
Great start for Kosic, up into second place on the opening lap.
Kosic applying pressure to Walters for the lead, he's right on his gearbox.
Kosic still pushing hard, looking for a way past Walters. He's clearly got the pace. Boontakis has dropped further down the order, now in 7th. What a disastrous first lap for him.
He must have been caught up in one of those incidents. He'll have a lot of work to do to recover from that. Astrup is just ahead in P6. Boontakis is closing the gap but is running out of room. Can he make the pass?
Boontakis makes the move. He's up to 6th, right behind Astrup now and closing rapidly. Kosic is hunting down Walters for the lead, just 0.6 of a second separate them as they start lap 2.
That's a decent opening lap from Kosic, but he needs to find a way to close that gap quickly. With only 18 minutes plus a lap remaining, time is of the essence.
The gap widens slightly between Kosic and Walters. Is Walters starting to pull away?
Walters is managing the gap well. As a lead driver, you always need to manage your pace and not push unnecessarily hard and ruin your tires.
Well, Sky, what are your thoughts on the race so far? It's been action-packed right from the start.
Absolutely. The AM-class drivers are really showing their mettle. It's great to see them challenging the established order.
Indeed, and that incident between McFarquhar and Lindo? Bit of a clumsy move, wouldn't you say?
Definitely a racing incident, but McFarquhar probably could have given him a little more room. These cars can be tricky to handle when you're wheel to wheel.
It's been a great advertisement for this series. The racing is tight and the cars look fantastic.
I agree. It reminds me of my early racing days. These types of races are what allow drivers to forge careers.
It certainly does. The racing is tight and the cars are evenly matched. You can't just rely on the equipment.
Exactly. Driver skill is paramount in races like these. Experience will always play a part in the overall result.
And of course, we have those AM drivers to consider. They seem determined to give the more experienced drivers a run for their money.
That's what makes it exciting. The unpredictability is what keeps us on the edge of our seats. This series is all about the drivers, so it is great to see.
Well said. Let's get back to the action. It looks like Kosic is starting to close the gap to Walters again.
Indeed, this could be the start of the decisive move.
Boontakis, after a tough start, is now chasing Astrup for 5th. The gap is closing, but can he make the move?
Boontakis needs to be patient. A mistake here could cost him valuable time and track position. He has to time the move perfectly.
And the gap has increased slightly between Boontakis and Astrup. Astrup must have picked up the pace.
It's easy to lose time in traffic. Astrup probably found a clear lap and stretched his legs a bit.
Astrup is right on the tail of Walker, battling for 4th. This is shaping up to be a good fight.
Astrup has the experience, but Walker is quick. It will be interesting to see how this plays out. Those tenths of a second make all the difference in tight situations.
Huge crash for Walker. He's gone off at high speed and hit the barriers hard.
Lindo is now in 3rd and closing in on Kosic for 2nd. He's set his personal best time. He clearly has the pace to go on.
The gap widens slightly between Lindo and Kosic. It looks like Kosic has responded and picked up the pace.
Kosic is probably just managing the gap, making sure Lindo doesn't get close enough to attempt a move. It's all about tire management at this stage.
Constable Barry is closing on Walker for P7. After his earlier incident, he will want to make some progress.
Constable Barry is through on Walker after his crash and they are now nose to tail. He is looking to make a move.
Lindo continues to close on Kosic. He's clearly got the pace to challenge for 2nd place. This could get interesting.
The gap remains the same, the drivers are evenly matched and the pressure is building.
So, Sky, what's your take on Lindo? He's certainly making a name for himself today.
He's driving exceptionally well, especially considering this is his first race in the series. He's showing a maturity beyond his experience.
Agreed. And what about Constable Barry, recovering well after that early incident?
Absolutely. It's easy to get disheartened after a mistake, but he's shown great resilience to fight back through the field.
It highlights the importance of mental strength in motorsport, not just speed.
Exactly. You need to be able to put the bad moments behind you and focus on the next corner, the next lap. That's what separates the good drivers from the great ones.
And tire management is such a key thing to consider here too.
Oh, absolutely, it is critical. Too many drivers are not patient enough and use their tires up too quickly. The final laps will be the key.
I wonder if the high-speed crash of Walker will have an impact on other drivers' mindsets, or if they are simply pushing it out of their minds.
Every driver is different and what affects one driver may not impact another. It depends on their focus and confidence.
Agreed. Right, let's get back to the action. I think we're in for a thrilling finish.
I agree. Let us get back to the race. Kosic is closing. He's right on the back of Walters. The leader is under serious pressure now.
Still no change at the front. Kosic is biding his time, waiting for the right moment to pounce. Oh no, contact between Kosic and Walters. They've touched. What a disaster.
That was completely unnecessary. Kosic made a lunge and they have both come off worse.
Kosic drops to third after that incident, and now has Astrup ahead. What a turn of events.
Kosic has to keep his head down now and try and recover from this incident. It's going to be difficult to recover, but anything can happen in racing.
The gap is widening between Kosic and Astrup. Kosic is losing ground after that incident with Walters.
Constable Barry now sits comfortably in 7th, with a sizable gap behind him. He'll be looking to consolidate his position now.
Constable Barry has dropped to 8th and Stokes is right behind. He will want to retake that position immediately. Well, Sky, this race has certainly had its fair share of drama, hasn't it?
Absolutely, Hal. From the early collision to the incident between Kosic and Walters, it's been non-stop action.
That move by Kosic was a bit ambitious, don't you think?
He was clearly eager to take the lead, but sometimes patience is the best strategy. Now he's paying the price.
It's a fine line between aggression and recklessness, especially in these types of races.
That's right. As a racer, I always tried to assess the situation and pick my battles carefully. You can't win the race on the first lap.
And what about tire management? It's going to be crucial in these closing stages.
Definitely. The drivers who have been kindest to their tires will have a significant advantage in the final few laps.
Absolutely, the last driver standing may not be the fastest, but the one that looks after the tires the best.
Exactly. Some of those drivers need to think more about their tires and less about just pushing hard all the time.
I agree. The winner may be the one who thinks the most, not the one with the biggest foot.
The driver who thinks about strategy and implementation will be the ultimate winner, regardless of pace.
Well, let's get back to the action on the track.
Yes, indeed, let's see where this goes. Kosic needs to find something special to catch up to Astrup. He is losing time every lap.
Kosic is starting to close the gap to Astrup. He's clearly not giving up despite that earlier incident.
He's got to be careful not to overdo it though. He can't afford another mistake. Slow and steady wins the race.
Sky, it's interesting to see how the different classes are performing out there, isn't it?
Absolutely. The pro drivers are always going to be quick, but the AM and Pro-Am drivers are really holding their own.
It shows the depth of talent in this series, and that anyone can have a good day out there.
Precisely. It's not just about having the fastest car, it's about putting it all together on the day, strategy, consistency, and a bit of luck.
And let's not forget the importance of teamwork, even in what seems like an individual sport.
Definitely. A good team can make all the difference, from setting up the car to providing crucial information during the race.
Do you think the younger drivers have a disadvantage or an advantage in races like this?
It is always hard to say. They can be fast and instinctive, but they are often prone to more mistakes due to lack of experience in racecraft.
I suppose it is a trade-off, instinct versus experience.
It is indeed, and that is often the difference between winning and losing and what makes a champion.
So who do you think is looking strong now with only a few minutes left to go?
Well, I am not going to say. It can always change quickly. Best to watch and see, and analyze it later.
Oh no, Kosic is off again. He's hit the barriers this time. What a disaster.
He just couldn't keep it on the track. That's surely the end of his chances now. A real shame.
Boontakis is closing on Kosic for third. Could we see another change in position after Kosic's latest mistake? Boontakis takes third as Kosic's bad luck continues. A great recovery drive from him after his poor start.
Indeed, with Kosic's mistake, Boontakis has inherited a podium position. A great drive from him after his crash earlier.
Oh, another huge crash for Kosic. He's off again and this time it looks much worse.
That's a big one. He's really pushing too hard and paying the price. I hope he is okay. Stokes is right behind Boontakis. He has not given up his position easily and now is looking for an overtake.
Stokes makes the move and takes sixth. Boontakis is not looking like he will be able to respond.
Fantastic driving from Stokes there. Boontakis is not looking to be having a fun time in that seat after his mistake.
Well, Sky, this race has been a real rollercoaster, hasn't it? So many ups and downs.
Absolutely, Hal. It just goes to show that anything can happen in motorsport, right down to the very last lap.
Poor Kosic, though, he had so much pace, but just couldn't keep it clean.
He's got the speed, but his racecraft needs some work. You can't win a race by crashing, no matter how quick you are.
That high-speed crash of Kosic looked very serious.
It did indeed. Hopefully he is okay and can be back in his seat soon. Drivers need to remain calm and sensible to get back to the track safely.
The lead driver is looking very smooth and controlled now.
Yes, they are. As long as they make no mistakes, they should be in for a win.
Yes, they need to remember to keep it simple and bring it home.
Indeed, as the old saying goes, to finish first you must finish.
Are there any drivers who have been unfairly affected by other people's errors?
Well, it is racing and they do happen. It is down to them to respond to that and recover as best they can. That is what shows the quality drivers.
Absolutely, it's about adapting and overcoming the challenges.
Resilience is the key. Right, back to the track, I can sense a thrilling finish coming. Kosic is right behind Fovard looking for a way past. Can he recover some positions and move up the pack?
Kosic still trying to find a way past Fovard, but the gap remains steady at 0.3 of a second. He's running out of time.
Kosic lost a position there somehow. What happened? He will want that position back.
Walters into the barriers. What is going on? The lead driver is off.
Oh no, he lost it completely and crashed. A sad end to that race for him.
Kosic, despite his earlier crashes, is still fighting hard for 4th place, chasing Fovard.
He needs to keep calm and not make any more mistakes. A podium finish is still within reach if he can keep it clean. It is looking unlikely at this point.
Kosic is now ahead of Fovard. How did he get that position? I did not even see the overtake. Now he has another driver to worry about right behind him.
Fovard is right behind Kosic looking to get that position back. He is straight onto the attack after losing it.
Oh no, Stokes is off. Another high-speed crash. Constable Barry has a bit of work to do to catch up to Stokes, but it looks like Stokes is in trouble after his mistake.
Stokes is struggling after that error and Constable Barry is slowly but surely catching up. He may not have long though.
Astrup is chasing down Lindo for the lead. Can he close the gap in the closing stages of the race?
Astrup is closing the gap slightly. Lindo needs to watch out, he is coming under pressure.
Kosic into the barriers again. He is having an absolutely terrible race. He just cannot keep it on the track.
Constable Barry is getting ever closer to Stokes. He must think he can make it and gain a position before the flag.
Stokes is pulling away from Constable Barry now. I think he is just focusing on bringing the car home safely now and not making any mistakes.
Stokes may have changed the setup of the car during the last crash. It is possible, who knows?
What has happened to Constable Barry? He is now way behind Stokes. He must have had a collision or mistake.
Astrup is still closing in on Lindo, but it doesn't seem quick enough. Will Lindo be able to keep it up to the flag?
The gap remains the same between Astrup and Lindo. It's looking increasingly unlikely that Astrup will be able to catch him.
Lindo is driving a very mature race. Astrup has the pace, but Lindo is keeping him at bay. It is impressive to watch.
Sky, we're nearing the end of this race, and it's been a real war of attrition, hasn't it?
Indeed, Hal. So many incidents, so many changes in the running order. It's been a real test of skill and endurance.
What do you think Lindo has done to hold off Astrup?
Lindo seems to be driving within himself, focusing on hitting his marks and not making mistakes. His consistency is paying off.
It is hard to see where his mistake will be coming from.
True, that is all down to skill and the racecraft that some people just have in bucket loads.
Kosic has made a lot of mistakes to finish where they did.
Yes, but these things happen and you have to learn from those so you are better next time around.
Is being a pro driver always better? Or is the other classes just as fun?
The other classes is what make it fun, the mix is what is amazing, and it shows how different the drivers are and how they cope under pressure.
Agreed, this is what makes the racing so appealing to watch.
Right, enough chatting, let's focus on the track. We're about to see who takes the checkered flag. It's all about the last lap.
Constable Barry is still in 7th place, and seems to be settled for this position now. The gap to Fovarg is just too much to close in the short time left.
Constable Barry is closing the gap a bit there, but the race is running out of time now. He needs to put on a rocket boost.
Astrup is pushing hard, but Lindo is responding. The gap remains around 2.5 seconds. Time is running out for Astrup.
That gap may prove too much for Astrup to catch up. He really needed that gap to close quickly, but that has not happened.
Another crash. Fovarg is off. That barrier came out of nowhere.
Constable Barry is closing in on a wreck. With Fovarg off the track, it is now a mad dash to the finish line in 7th or 6th.
Constable Barry lost some ground there, perhaps being too cautious through the crash site. He may be losing out on 6th position.
6th position is his for the taking there, but if the car is damaged it would make it hard. He may just want to complete the race as a safe option. Astrup is pushing really hard, trying to close in on the leader. But Lindo is holding his nerve and is keeping his gap steady.
Astrup has closed the gap slightly to Lindo. Can he make the pass in the closing minutes?
It would need the perfect moment, but it could happen. If he pushes too hard though, it will not end well. Stokes is comfortably in 5th, so providing there are no errors, this is his position.
Stokes looks happy and controlled, so there is no reason to think he will give up that position. Huge crash for Stokes. He's off at high speed. That's gotta hurt.
Constable Barry is slowly but surely catching up to Fovarg. It all depends now on if this is going to be enough or not.
There is not much to say here. The lead driver is clear and consistent. The cars behind may have issues. It is all to play for still.
It is almost impossible for Astrup to catch the lead car now. It is his to lose.
Astrup gains a tiny amount on the leader, but it does not look like there is enough time for him to do it. Well, Sky, this race has been absolutely bonkers, hasn't it? So many crashes.
It certainly has, Hal. I can't remember seeing so many incidents in such a short space of time. It's been a real test of survival out there.
The crashes have all been high speed as well.
Indeed, and that is very worrisome. I do hope that all the drivers are okay and they all go home safely.
Some people seem more adept than others.
Racing is all about learning and being fast, so all drivers should have the opportunity to do both. Only then can we expect more.
What will the teams be doing now, in preparation?
Teams need to ensure the safety and integrity of the cars. Only then will we have confidence when they are being used at speed on track.
So all of that will require an enormous amount of skill.
Indeed, but skill does not equal perfect. All those involved need to work hard for the common goal or to finish with a car intact. The smallest error can be devastating.
Well said. And how do you think the lead driver is feeling now?
I hope they are feeling pleased with themselves and are feeling they can do the best they can. To be the fastest and complete the task, that is all that matters.
He's driving so steadily, surely it's his race to lose now.
He's got to keep his head down and not get complacent. Anything can still happen in these final moments and he needs to stay vigilant. Here we go again. This is getting repetitive, but can Constable Barry get a lucky break and finish in front of Fovarg? It is all down to chance at this point.
Constable Barry is almost within striking distance of Fovarg. Will he make it stick?
Yes, here we go. It is so close and now these two have crashed out of the lead. What an error.
Ah, not Košić again. He can't buy a break. He really does need to learn when to quit.
The crash of the lead drivers has thrown this race into total disarray. What will happen next? It looks like Fovarg may be too far behind now.
Fovarg cannot seem to make up any ground. Is his race run? There is not much time left to do it and Constable Barry seems settled in front of him. Oh no, Košić again. He has hit the barrier once more. Will he ever finish this race?
His performance and errors shows that motorsport is not for everyone. Some people should just watch it from the sidelines and enjoy it instead. Here comes Astrup. This gap may not be enough, but this last section of laps is going to be really entertaining. We are all wondering, will this be his time?
The time is running out and to come from this far behind to win would be a massive achievement. A sterling result from Jimmy Lindo if he manages to hold onto the lead. That is it, all over. Same distance as before, there is just not enough time for John Astrup to get past Jimmy Lindo.
Indeed, there is no change in the gap. A very composed and calculated drive from Jimmy Lindo, who is showing the skill required to win races. I really admire his calm approach and it proves that sometimes, all you need is self-control and composure.
Well, Sky, what an incredible race. The amount of drama we've seen today is just unbelievable.
Absolutely, Hal. From start to finish, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. And to think, we're only a lap away from the checkered flag.
The lead drivers crashed. What an error.
Indeed, that crash of the leader in that crash, I don't know what will come from this. How can people drive like that and not be more careful?
It is hard to comprehend. As a professional sport, we expect more.
True, it also demonstrates how hard motor racing can be and it is not to be taken lightly. Drivers need to be respectful or they will fail.
Who is the best of the AM drivers today? Who has performed the best?
Of course all the drivers will be thinking they have something to prove, but one driver has proven that the old racing adage holds true: smooth is fast, not speed is fast.
And what advice would you give the drivers for next week's race?
For this type of race, it all is about control and making your presence felt when it matters most. The skill drivers need is composure and control, so if they work at that, they will be fine.
So true, Sky. Let's watch the end of this race. What a finish that is going to be.
Let's look at the finish, that is what it is all about. Here we go for the last lap. Fovard is far behind and can do nothing at this point. Just bring it home for a result.
Dominic Fovard cannot do anything to improve his place. The gap is now fixed.
It is the last lap and now is all to play for. Astrup has closed in slightly and now he has only one shot at glory. Is it to be or not to be?
The gap is tight, and if Jimmy Lindo does not make any errors, he is on course to take a fine win. However, there is that small possibility that John Astrup will snatch the top spot in a photo finish. Kosic has done it again. Is this a record number of crashes for one driver?
He is gaining. I repeat, he is gaining. This is now nail-biting. Can Jimmy Lindo pull it back, or is that it?
The gap is closing. Jimmy Lindo needs to defend robustly but fairly, otherwise Astrup will be passed in a flash. This is what we all love to see.
This is it, the moment of truth. Can Lindo hold on for the win? He needs to be perfect.
Astrop is through. What an overtake. It's all change. All change.
I cannot believe it. What a move. Lindo has been caught out by this move. What a result.
John Astrup wins the race. What an incredible comeback drive from 6th on the grid.
Absolutely incredible. That last lap overtake was simply stunning. He never gave up, and his persistence paid off. What a win.
Jimmy Lindo comes home in 2nd place. A fantastic drive from him, even though he lost the lead on the final lap.
He drove a brilliant race and showed great composure. That last lap overtake was just unfortunate, but he should be proud of his performance. He exceeded expectations.
And Kosic goes off again. He just cannot seem to finish a race without incident. Nigel Walters salvages 3rd place after that late incident. What a great result for him to recover and make the podium.
Yes, Walters has a fantastic recovery to end in 3rd position. It all proves that these races are full of great entertainment.
Stokes has gone off again. It is becoming a bit of a race of attrition here.
It does feel like he cannot handle the pressure anymore, that is why the error count is up. Just remember to breath, that is what I would say if he could hear.
So, with all the crashes and incidents, Kosic manages to secure 4th place, while Stokes finishes 7th after his earlier problems.
They both had challenging races, but they kept going and brought their cars home. That's what matters most in a race like this. Although there is a high risk of incidents and damage, and drivers need to do all they can to avoid damage. The drivers need to understand this and the teams need to help them.
And finally, Constable Barry crosses the line in 5th. He managed to avoid most of the carnage and secured a solid points finish. Fovard limps home in 6th place. A lucky result given all the incidents during the race.
A lucky result indeed. He will be counting his lucky stars that many of the leading drivers crashed. One needs to be able to take advantage when these situations happen, and they need to be in a position to do it as well. This time, all things came to fruition.